I didn't go to college, but here's what I did instead. When I graduated high school 5 years ago, I took a risk that very few people that I knew were taking. I didn't go to college. Instead, I decided to break away from the traditional path and find my own way. The day I graduated, I went home and I bought a one-way ticket to the other side of the world. When I walked into the airport alone and got on my flight, I began a pretty alternative path in my life. And I'll tell you more if you stick around till the end of this video, but I've been feeling inspired to share a bit about why I chose this path and what I've learned along the way. Today, I'm really excited about you designing a life that you really love. And hopefully this video can help you make the best decision for your life, avoid some of the mistakes that I've made, and ultimately see what's possible for you too. Just a little bit about me. My name is Rowan Tyne, and I'm passionate about a lot of things: traveling the world and experiencing cultures, self-discovery and human potential, creative expression through music and storytelling, entrepreneurship and business. I've had a lot of incredible life experiences in the last 5 years, and I don't say that to brag or to convince you to do the things that I've done, but I know that I've taken little pieces from many different sources and people to create my life. So maybe you can take some pieces with you too as we connect more here. The first thing I want to say is that I'm not knocking anyone who chooses the college path. I think it can be a good decision for some people. If your parents are paying for your tuition and you don't have to worry about the debt, it might be the best decision for you. If you get really good scholarships, college can be a great way to move somewhere else and meet new people. And of course, if you know that you want to become an engineer or medical professional and you need a degree for that, go for it. But if not, it might be worth a second thought. I've talked with a lot of friends who did go to college, and I think it provides two things that can be helpful for a young adult starting out in the world. One is a sense of community and also a network for jobs. The second thing is a sense of direction where your path is laid out for you and many of the decisions are made for you already. So here's a note: if you don't choose to go, just prioritize finding a direction to try out for a while and finding a community of people and mentors that will support you. Whatever you do, I just say, don't try to do it all by yourself. That's not what it's about. Now, why did I say no to college? As a high schooler, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with my life. I felt a lot of pressure from my school, peers, and some of my family to go down that path. But I was turning 18, and it felt like this was the time where I had to start making my own decisions. The first factor I had to take into consideration was that I didn't really trust the education system. After 12 years of public school, I didn't trust that it had my best intentions in mind. I never felt very supported by the public education system. I got pretty good grades, but I also got in trouble a lot too. And I'm not blaming the schools for that, but I was a kid with a lot of energy, and sitting at a desk all day was not the way I learned or focused best. I got diagnosed with all these disorders like ADHD and ADD, like so many kids do. But the truth is, the problem with my attention wasn't me, it was the environment I was in and how I was being told to learn. School wanted me to obey and follow the rules, but there was never a space for my needs as an independent young boy. It felt militaristic and commanding, and there was just something about this that felt wrong. And after all these years, I was tired of being told what to do. Memorization, test taking. I remember wondering, is this really preparing me for my future? I researched how public education was created by the wealthiest people over a century ago. These billionaire businessmen implemented the education system that is still used today. They wanted us to be able to obey commands and memorize tasks to create a world of factory workers and employees. But yet everyone said, you gotta go to school if you want to be successful in life. Now, I agree education is one of the most important things, but I can tell you I've learned so much more outside of a classroom than in one. My mental health also wasn't super good during these years in public schools. And again, I'm not going to blame it on the school systems, but it was like the more I followed the path society wanted me to take, the more lost and depressed I'd feel. I'd imagine my future the way I saw people living, and it seemed unexciting and stressful. And I didn't want to do what some people call the conveyor belt lifestyle. The route of go to college, get your 9 to 5, get married, have kids, retire, die. The second factor I had to take into consideration was understanding knowledge versus wisdom. I didn't want to just learn out of a textbook. I wanted to learn from people who are actually doing the things I wanted to do. Many people know how to do things intellectually, but don't have actual experience doing it. For example, if I want to run my own business, I'd rather learn from someone who has run a business for the last decade than learn from someone who went to school and studied the theory. I realized that the people who were telling me to take this traditional path were endorsing the road to get the same results they had achieved in their lives. But I didn't really want their results. I realized that I needed to learn from people who had the results that I wanted to create for myself, find what their actions and behaviors were, and model after that. The third factor is learning styles. There are three main types of learning. There's auditory, visual, and kinesthetic. And I know I'm a kinesthetic learner, which means I learn from hands-on experience, interacting with my environment and feeling things in my body, so much more than just listening to someone give me instructions or reading something in a textbook. And yes, we can all learn in every style, but one is usually much more effective for us. Bottom line, I wanted to keep learning things, but I also wanted the freedom and responsibility to choose what and how I learned, to pursue interests and passions of mine, to feel engaged, and to be able to kind of set my own difficulty level. Pressure from family and society is the fourth factor I considered. My dad hadn't gone to college, and he wanted me to go because he thought I'd have more opportunities than he had without a college degree. My grandpa also really thought that I should go and had multiple conversations with me to convince me and kind of question my choice. And at first I was upset that he was doubting me, because part of me was also uncertain about this. Eventually I started to understand that he was saying these things because he cared, and he also realized that I had made up my mind and I was going to do what I wanted to do. I do personally think some families go way too far in pressuring young adults down a specific path. Different people come from different cultural backgrounds and they all have pros and cons, but I am so grateful to my parents for respecting my choice and allowing me to leave the nest in my own way. They understood it was my decision to make, not theirs, and didn't attach their identities to me and what I was doing, which honestly is a whole other conversation. That being said, I did feel a lot of pressure from society. Some of my peers in school were adamant about it, counselors and teachers. Everyone around me was saying that this was the thing to do, and the only other option they told me I had was to stay in my hometown for the rest of my life with a low-paying job. No one was really talking about any alternative. For me, I think that's a big reason I felt lost as a teenager, because I didn't know what was possible and what my options were. And that's very significant, because if we only see people in our surrounding environment doing one or two things, the likelihood that we are going to follow suit regardless of it being the best decision is very high. In psychology, there's something called herd or pack mentality, which explains how many of our behaviors are influenced by the people around us. It's this subconscious belief that if I do the same thing as everyone else, I'm more likely to survive. In marketing, they call it the bandwagon effect. People are more likely to buy things when they see others buying it. It feels safe, which leads me to my next point. Number 5, college is a business. I recognize that college is a business and it profits from us going through that system. The purpose of a business is to solve a problem for its customers, and the problem college solves in an ideal world is providing a more secure future and certainty of finding good paying jobs. For previous generations in America, and maybe for other countries right now, it can definitely be a good investment. But nowadays, over 30% of 2020 graduates are unemployed, and many people are having troubles finding a job using their degree. So that's why it's healthy to be skeptical about if this is the right decision. The average student loan debt for graduates is about $28,000. Where that may have been worth it for previous generations, we have to really question if that's helping us or if this business is just taking our money without really caring about us and our lives. It's important for us as consumers to check in and see if that's really true or if we're just drinking the Kool-Aid. Number 6, making a major decision about what I'm doing with my life. At 18, I had no idea what I wanted to do for a career. I barely even knew who I was. I spent a lot of high school just trying to fit in. I wasn't ready to commit 4 years to one thing, and honestly, even now, I would be very cautious committing to many things for that long unless I felt extremely certain about it. The one thing I did know was that I needed time to myself. All I could hear was the noise and opinions of everyone around me, and I needed some space from that so I could start to hear the voice within me and learn how to listen to that. I needed to discover more about myself and who I really was, and that's what led me to take a risk and place a bet on myself. So, what did I do instead? Getting on that plane to Asia was a really significant moment for me. It was the beginning of a rite of passage for myself, and it marked a really big transition for me, the end of my childhood and the beginning of my adult life. I'll go more in depth about these travels and the experiences I've had soon, but I'll give you a bit of an overview for now. And I genuinely want you to know that if I could do these things, you definitely can too in your own way. Looking back at these last 5 years, I've spent a lot of time figuring things out for myself and experimenting with life. I've tried to approach life very holistically and prioritize tending to the areas of my life that I value most. I've had adventures in over 20 countries and 5 continents. I've also taken time to have a routine and be grounded in one place for over a year in California. I've moved different places. I've built a business with videography and media production that has been really successful. I'm not a millionaire, and I'm totally okay with that. It's been successful on my terms. I'm location independent. I can go back to the East Coast and visit my family. I do something that I really enjoy, and I'm not in debt. I've also focused a lot on my own personal growth. I used to really struggle with my mental health, and it still comes and goes, but I have made health a really big priority. My mental health, emotional health, and also my physical and spiritual health. I've taken a lot of time to travel solo and be with myself, but I've also been in a few relationships. I've spent a lot of time living with friends and prioritized spending time with my siblings when I can. My life is far from perfect. I still make a lot of mistakes, get stressed and burnt out, and I can be too hard on myself sometimes, but I do feel really alive, and I'm so grateful that I've taken this path and that I can share what I've been through with people like you. I also believe that taking an alternative path in life as a young adult is not as difficult as people think. Yes, there are going to be challenges in life no matter what direction you go in, but it's easier to get through those times while pursuing a life that you love than to go through those times living a life that you're not already inspired to live. Also, it's totally okay if you don't know what you'd love to do with your life yet. I don't think it's about finding one thing that you do forever. I think it's an ongoing exploration. I'm still discovering more about myself and the things that I want to do, and I'm sure that's something that's going to continue for my whole entire life. That being said, if you'd like to find more clarity and direction for your life, or maybe you've been feeling a bit lost, like you aren't sure where to go or how to move forward, I wanted to create something that could help you find these answers for yourself. In the description, there's a link to a PDF document that I created. It's totally free, and inside it you'll find a series of journal questions, prompts, tools, and perspectives that have really helped me in these early years as a young adult. I hope it can really benefit you too, so please check that out and let me know what you think. So there you have it. This is why I chose not to go to college. That was my decision, but something I really believe in is coming to your own conclusions. Think about it, but also listen to your gut and see how you feel. One trick that you can do is to ask yourself a question and see if your body says uh-huh or uh-uh, yes or no, if it opens or contracts. And when I added up these factors, my past experiences in public school, understanding the difference between knowledge and wisdom, finding my learning style, recognizing how much pressure was being put on me to go down a specific path, not wanting to burden myself with debt, and not being ready to make major life decisions and a career choice before I had even left my parents' home. If I learned anything from 12 years of math classes, this definitely did not add up to me having a desire to go to college, but it left a really big question mark. What will I do instead? I know the uncertainty can be daunting, but honestly, a lot of life is learning how to stay calm in the unknown. The world is changing rapidly, and if anything, the pandemic taught us to expect the unexpected. The truth is, we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, and whether you have a degree or not, who's to say if that's going to make you more prepared for life? If you do want to be more prepared for the real world, check out my free guide, and if this video was beneficial, I'd appreciate it a lot if you'd like this video and subscribe. and also share this video with someone who needs to see it. Comment if you have any requests for another video, and let me know if you're choosing to go to college or not and why. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching till the end. Much love, y'all. Let's go.